Most people focus on the wrong numbers when they're building wealth. The one number that actually matters while you're still working is boring, but it's the one that you can actually control. There's one number that matters more than your income, more than your investment returns, and more than your net worth. And it's not exciting. It's how much you save each year. Once you understand this one thing, a lot of stress around retirement planning starts to fade. The reason income, investment returns, and net worth distract people is because they're results. They're not actions. We tend to reward results in our culture, promotions, bonuses, big investment wins. We talk about the end result, but retirement isn't built on one big moment. It's built on actions you repeat year after year. The thing is, you can't fully control your returns. You can't control your income, and markets don't move on your timeline. And unfortunately, careers don't either. I see this play out over and over again in real life. You can make $100,000 in your 30s, $300,000 in your 40s, and $500,000 in your 50s, and still get to retirement with nothing. Because if every time your income goes up, your spending goes with it, you're not building freedom, you're just building a more expensive lifestyle. And that's why income alone is such a misleading metric. High income feels like success, but it doesn't automatically lead to flexibility or peace of mind. Now, you've probably seen the charts online that show you what your net worth should be by a certain age. Those charts are incredibly popular and they're incredibly misleading. They're backward looking. They don't tell you how someone got there. And more importantly, they don't tell you where someone is headed. Two people can have the same net worth in very different futures. One could be coasting and the other one could just be hanging on by a thread. Net worth tells you where you are today. It doesn't tell you whether or not you're on a sustainable path for the future. There's a classic example that captures this perfectly. There was a professor at Georgia State named Thomas Stanley, and he wrote a famous book called The Millionaire Next Door. One of the stories he talked about was a plumber making around $80,000 a year who had saved over $1 million by living below his means. And across town was someone making $1 million a year who'd only saved a few $100,000. Now the question is, who's wealthier? I would argue that it's the plumber. Not because he makes more money, because he doesn't, but because he has more freedom. The higher earner with no savings is a slave to their standard of living. They have to keep earning at that level just to stay afloat. If they lose their job, they're in trouble. If their income drops, everything falls apart. That's not wealth, that's fragility. Living below your means doesn't mean deprivation. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy your money. It means your spending doesn't grow at the same pace as your income. What really matters isn't what you spend, it's what you spend as a percentage of your income, because that percentage directly determines how much you could save every year. And that savings number is the thing that compounds quietly in the background year after year. Now, at this point, a lot of people push back and say, okay, what about my investments? What about performance? And that's a fair question. Here's the problem. Investment returns are outcomes too. Those are results. You can focus all of your energy on picking the right strategy, the right mix, the right timing, and still have years where the markets don't cooperate. And if your entire plan depends on returns carrying the load, a couple of bad years can derail everything. Savings are different. They're predictable. And predictability is highly underrated in retirement planning. Take a second and ask yourself, when markets go down, what happens to your confidence? Most people don't become more aggressive after a bad year. They become more cautious. They hesitate. They wait for things to feel better. And that's when savings slows down or attention shifts to investing in whatever feels safer or more comfortable at the moment. That's how time quietly slips away. It's not because people aren't smart, but because emotion takes over instead of sticking to a repeatable process every year. My dad always says that there's no pitchers on the scorecard. So for those of you that play golf, this is a golf analogy. It doesn't matter how the ball got on the green, it matters that it got there. Savings works the same way. It doesn't matter if you save evenly throughout the year, dump your bonus into your investment portfolio in December, or save income from a side gig, or even automate everything monthly. What matters is that that money gets saved that year, and it happens consistently. Savings are cumulative. They're not aesthetic. 10 years from now, nobody cares how the money got into the portfolio. It just matters that it got there each year for 10 years in a row. And the real payoff of savings isn't just retirement. It's flexibility. The more money you have saved, the fewer forced decisions you have later in life. Careers aren't guaranteed forever. Health changes, family needs change. Markets don't move to your schedule. Savings buys you options. They buy you time. They buy you the ability to say no, or at least not panic when life doesn't go according to plan. So if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. Stop obsessing over net worth benchmarks. Stop comparing yourself to the charts that don't know your life. Focus on the one number that you can actually control. And if you get your savings right, the rest of the plan becomes a lot more forgiving. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button, because in the next video, I'm going to walk through the actual numbers, how much you need to be saving at different stages of your life to stay on track. Thanks for watching.